A very good morning to you. Welcome to this morning on on a Monday. After a long weekend that I have had. It's good to see you guys over here on the space. Welcome to the show. Please do share the link of the space on your timeline so that we can have many people joining in this morning. Good morning, Mrs. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Brighton. I'm fine. It was quite a busy weekend here, and I'm hoping for a great week ahead. We had a lot that's going to be happening this week. The ITF will be coming out and all that. So I hope we're going to have a good week. And welcome and good morning to our guests who have just joined us. I see we have been joined by a lot of our guests this morning. Good morning, guys. Welcome to this morning.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to the space. As I was saying this morning, please do share the link of the space on your timeline. Remember to use the hashtag this morning on a second. Do comment under the space. And today we're going to be talking about the rise of many political parties. We're going to compare 2013, 2018, and also now 2023. We have many parties being formed. Some of them are contesting for elections. It is the sign of democracy that we have always been speaking about. Now Zimbabwe, we are a democratic country. So now we've seen many parties being born. I saw last week Zanzela was interviewing the president of UNZA, Elizabeth Valerio. There's Chapman as well. Many parties are coming on board. It's a sign of democracy. There's Nazani as well from Foras. It's a sign of democracy in Zimbabwe.
Yes, and we also have Linda Masarira from Lead. So much is happening in Zimbabwe. We have the upcoming election. So we want to hear from you guys that is the rise of many political parties in Zimbabwe a sign of democracy? Is it the democracy that you've always dreamed about? Is this the democracy that you want to see in Zimbabwe? So please do request the mic. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your view on this. Brighton, what do you think about this?
So for me, I think a sign of democracy because I've been always a champion of saying let's have many ideas come on board, let's have many different faces come on board. But however, someone will argue and say this maybe some people want their time to eat or join Pollard as well. For me, having Pollard in Zimbabwe and political actors dialogue, right? For me, they will say I want to have like jump on board to join Pollard and get the cars and so on and all the perks. But however, from another perspective, to say let's allow other voices a chance in Zimbabwe. Over the years, we've always known MDC and ZANU-PF. But now let's allow other voices, other new faces to join on board as well and contribute. Maybe they have different ideas on how to build Zimbabwe. For me, I think it's a sign of democracy and growth of our politics.
Okay, I understand, Brighton, what you're saying. But for me, the question is... are they putting an impact? Are we seeing them, or are they just numbers? I mean, for me, they're just numbers. And there's this issue of it's a job. Yeah. They are there to just earn something and earn a living, but not to really enrich the politics of Zimbabwe per se. So I wonder what our guests have to say. But for me, they are there, but the reason why we see them falling away or they are so quiet right now, we have to think political parties it's because our political environment is not that conducive. So it's just a face, it's just the cover to say we have democracy, but
before we go further in this topic, I want to argue a bit about the issue of that. I want to compare with South Africa. Right? South Africa, look at Parliament. South Africa, they have many parties in it. You have your EFF, you have your DA, you have your ANC. You have different parties in Parliament, right? All those parties, doing one from this political party, right? But when they debate the SONA, you get different views coming from different parties. Look at now Ijobek. I think there's a new mayor from a different party, small party as well.
Wow.
So this, for me, it shows what the maturity of their democracy, the maturity of their politics. So now is a new mayor, it's a mayor coming from a small party, leading the entire Joburg. For me, it's quite interesting to say, once wanted to see what this mayor is going to do, any developments. In Zimbabwe, we've always seen what mayor is going to ZANU-PF or MTC, the MPs going to ZANU-PF or MTC. Even in Parliament, are robust because we know there are only two parties. But if you have a cocktail of parties in Parliament, more than 5 parties in Parliament, you see the debate. In the way we say, if they're debating, because we're hearing different faces and different voices. Before we go further into this discussion, guys, it's time to be social with Asake online. We offer the following services to you: live streaming, social media adverts, program sponsorship, mobile road shows, video filming, photography, documentaries, as well as corporate events management. Do call us now on 263-788-084-339 or drop us an email, ashley@site.org.zw, or to come to offices number 45 Moffat Avenue in Hillside, right here, Go Bulawayo. I see we have our first guest. Let's take our first guest this morning.
Yes, good morning, Babyface. What's your take this morning on today's topic?
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please do go ahead.
So, my opinion is, in the case of our country, it's a sign of strategic democratic dictatorship. Why am I saying so? It's because there are just these political parties that are mushrooming from one place to the other, but you'd find that person is being voted probably family only, and it's only creating a division of creating the real democracy that we need as a nation. I think Brighton gave an example of South Africa, and he said what is taking place in South Africa. But you would notice the difference that is within South Africa, where Malema and his party are capable of saying anything to the president, and they are bringing a positive change to their nation. That is for the benefit of the rest of the South Africans. But that criteria that is being implied by the EFF, that cannot be implied by the political parties that are within Zimbabwe when you are of the opposition party. Why? Because they are not even being shown on any state media saying anything positive or what their mantra is. They only relying everything on their platforms. So I can't say it's real democracy, because one is saying he wants to be a president, so because political A supported him in saying we want to seem as if everything is okay on the ground when there is nothing actually that is taking place in at the ground. So that's my opinion.
Thank you so much, Babyface, for that contribution. And yeah, as I was saying, Brighton, what you said that the South African Parliament has got, that robust and engagement. So, which is the impact that I was saying? Which, what one impact if we only have two voices. Only two people working together, it's so weak. We need more parties so that there's that impact. They know that what, we are under scrutiny here. We are going to be asked, why did you do this? We are going to be opposed here and there. So yeah, thank you so much, Babyface, for that. And I see we've been joined by Danny. Good morning, Danny.
Good morning. Thanks much for hosting this space. If I can begin by saying that notwithstanding ZANU-PF shenanigans, our constitution is quite clear. Zimbabwe is a multi-party democracy, and we need a proliferation of these parties and ideas and policies and faces and leaders. This is very important because the situation that we are in right now, we have a two-horse race which has hijacked the democracy and the independence. Either or of the parties has done that. So having a proliferation of ideas and parties and leaders can create a real contestation for the development of our country, democratically, economically, and politically. Now, however, if we look at the system that we have in Zimbabwe, we've got a first past the post electoral system where the winner takes all, and that doesn't work very well with what we are trying, or what it is Zimbabwe's constitution was trying to establish. I think if we have a proportional representation where even a small party can win maybe 5% of the vote and still be represented, then it will start to make a lot more sense. That's how your EFF in South Africa is able to jump into parliament, is to lead a whole metropolitan and stuff like that. Because once they get 15%, 10%, they get 15% representation. EFF, according to the South African Constitution, would have constituted enough votes to have representation, even though they didn't win the majority. So, and then they can come up and be as vocal and share their own views and ideas on the platform where everybody can hear them. So in Zimbabwe, we're in the right track. We have so many parties coming through: DOS, Boras, Lead, and everything. Some are dangerous. Some have affiliated themselves with not so nationalistic agendas, and some are genuine. But that's the beauty of it. Now we have the ability to choose, which means that participation in the political landscape becomes very important, so that we can then be able to surf out by our own dissemination what serves us well, what's good. But then we cannot do that without the options. One person can wake up today like, it wouldn't be really cool if it was just Triple C and ZANU-PF. We were like, what? What if Triple C is making a big mess and ZANU-PF is making a big mess? You're now choosing two devils. But you can always come out and say, but Poras Benga guys, or Zapu is doing the things is saying the kind of things I like. Or I'll vote for a Triple C president, vote for a ZANU-PF MP, or in the DOS councillor, not necessarily in that order. It creates that kind of atmosphere, and it enables us, like I've said, to surf out what is bad and to prop up what is good by our own dissemination, without being coerced into into limited ideas and being politically bullied by those that have this ability or resources to have much bigger parties or well-funded parties. But let me end there. Thank you very much. I think we're in the right direction, but then I think the constitution just needs to be changed a little bit so we can have a proportional representation. That way, if Boss Alani has a boss party and she wins 10%, Boss Alani and her 10% constituency will have representation in whatever platform, a national platform it is, whether it's National Assembly, whether it is the Senate, whether it is council, or whether it's a city. And hopefully in the future, we can have governors being voted for. But that's a story for a different day. Many thanks.
Well, thanks so much, Dane, for raising those issues. Quite interesting what Dane is speaking about there. I spoke about that earlier to say, in South Africa, if the EFF, there's a DA, there's a different parties there in parliament. So when they debate this one, when they speak about different policies, it's quite interesting what they do. They even in local authority, you find those parties are being represented there on local authority. But in Zimbabwe, this culture of saying politics are ZANU-PF and MTC, now ZANU-PF and Triple C. But there's a lot of parties in Zimbabwe. I'm looking at the list here of parties that are published now. We have Triple C, obviously, we have ZANU-PF, we have the NCA, Egamadu, National Constitutional Assembly, we have MTCA or the MTCT, with the Senator Douglas Monzoro, you have UNZA, Elizabeth Valerio, the leader there, you have ZAPU as well, you have Lead Ekalinda Masari, you have Transform Zimbabwe, Jacob Nkarivume, you have Rebuild the Party of Zimbabwe, you have People's First, you have UN, ANC, Free Zimbabwe. There are many parties in Zimbabwe, but only 2 are seen in parliament. Guys, it is a sign of democracy now. There's a rise of many parties in Zimbabwe. I see Jaunda joining us this morning. Guys, please do request the mic. We want to hear from you. All take about this topic we're talking about this morning. Jaunda, good morning. Say welcome to this morning. Unasake. Dalu, good morning. All right, we seem to be distracting there. So it's quite interesting what Dane was speaking about. So the issue of ideas. When there are new different parties, ideas, sharing of ideas becomes nice and.
Yeah, and as you were reading the names of the political parties that we have, Brighton, I was just thinking that, some of them have been there for a while, but then we don't see them gaining that momentum. For me, they remain at that introductory level where they're just a name. They don't have much support or visibility, really, for us to know that, there's such a party that is on the ground. So I wonder if it's an issue of our political environment or if it's an issue of finances and all that, but they need to grow as well. And I think for them to have that impact, as Danny was saying, that the other thing is that our constitution doesn't allow for that much representation. And for that representation to be there, then they need to gain that momentum so that they are voted into parliament. And I really wonder what is happening there. But let's try Dalu again. Good morning, Dalu.
But also for me, it's quite interesting to say, even if we have many political parties in Zimbabwe, small parties, right? But however, we remain with this culture of saying our politics are ZANU-PF and Triple C. Back then, it was ZANU-PF and MTC. We have this culture of saying I have politics about 2 people. Even those guys in the opposition party, like if there's a new party being formed, Chapman came on board saying I'm running for president, and people are ridiculing him and saying, we're a project, right? We're a small party. Join this party. But how about our maturity of our democracy and the maturity of our politics to allow other parties, even smaller parties, to have a say in the discourse of the nation? So for me, it's quite interesting to have these smaller parties to hear their view. I'm tired of Nelson Chamisa and Emerson Mnangagwa. Let's have different faces. So let's allow new parties to have a say as well in our trajectory. Let's try Bernard. Bernard, good morning, brother Bernard. Bernard, good morning. Right, we seem to be losing there. Bernard, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Please do quiet. I see your hand is up.
Sure, thanks. I like what you just said that there's a toxic environment from the people themselves against what is new. But I have 2 different views regarding that. First of all, I think it's quite toxic, and you should let others have a chance. And it doesn't mean that if someone is coming in and is not part of your party, it doesn't mean they're a project of the other party. That's nonsense. But at the same time, I think that it's an opportunity for the new party, new politician, new leaders to prove themselves and show that they are capable of leading, and winning your support. So I think if you really make iron, iron sharpens iron. And if we get that kind of a beginning for a party that understands the need to prove, the need to show results, the need to be hands-on, the need to convince people that we are the best. I think that's a positive start. So I wouldn't complain that much if for instance, a Triple C or a ZANU-PF person said, perhaps I was a DUC member, and then they would say, oh yeah, but you're a project. I wouldn't be really upset about it. I would really take it on as a challenge. I mean, it's annoying, especially if you're really not, but I think I'll take it as a challenge and say, okay, fine. If you say I'm a project, watch the space. And then you start to deliver things which people can then say, oh my goodness, I think that these guys are really not a project. I think that we can be part of this. I think I can ditch ZANU-PF for dues. I think I can ditch Triple C or MDC for dues, for example. So that's the beauty of democracy anyway, the right to choose. You can choose to say, these guys are a project, I don't trust them. You can choose that, and it's perfectly okay. But at the same time, you can also choose and say, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I want to be part of that. Henceforth, I've been saying this for the past couple of years, that neutrality is the foundation of a new Zimbabwean form of politics, whereby you're politically neutral, but not, of course, neutral to the issues that I have. And then it's easier for you to then surf around and say, okay, I'm gonna vote for this. I don't have to be a part of that, but I can vote for this. I think DUS has a good national policy regarding technology, and I would want to promote and push a DUC candidate to be at least perhaps end up being a minister of technology and information and stuff like that. I think I can do that, and that's the beauty of it, and that's how I think we should be thinking. And at the same breath, I could say, what, ZANU-PF has a very nationalistic attitude, and we need patriotic citizens, and perhaps I think I don't mind a ZANU-PF president. Even though I really want a cabinet that's full of Triple C and DUS, for example. This is the beauty of it, but then you cannot do that when you are stuck in a dual political mindset. You need to be first understand that you are a Zimbabwean first. That's the neutral perspective that we've always been trying to preach for the past couple of years. And say from that point of view, I can then say, I think the Chamisa is talking crap. I'm not with that. Even though ZANU-PF is doing a big mess, I'm not with Chamisa. I think lead because is doing better, because Linda has said this idea about local councils, which I believe I can push. So moving forward, I really believe that, and I still insist that neutrality is the place that we need to go back to, so we can identify the important issues that are bedeviling our country, and then from there we can then start to move and then decide, this political party can carry this agenda for Zimbabwe, for Zimbabweans, for myself. If I'm sitting in the Paspe Bridge and then I'm thinking, I couldn't, and then I am fully convinced that dudes can get into power and get me a job. That's even though perhaps I might be a Triple C member, but I'm thinking about me. What is this party is delivering for me? It's okay to be selfish in this perspective. It's okay to think about you and your prospects. I want to start a business. I really believe ZANU-PF has got a small to medium enterprise policy where they can give me capital. Yeah, man, I'm a Triple C member, but this policy, it serves me right, and I want that, and I'm gonna push this agenda. So, it's really okay. That's the beauty of democracy, and it's better when there are many parties, many ideas, many leaders competing and trying to outdo each other. That is where the citizen can then thrive and then set the agenda. So everybody else that's coming can follow and say, oh yeah, I can give you a job. Oh yeah, I can make infrastructure development. Yeah, vote for me because I can do this. Look what I've done. Yeah, but let me end there. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Danny, for your contribution this morning. I see Bento is back. Good morning, Bernard.
Good morning, guys. Sorry, I was still finishing my work, and I couldn't, come to the party. Anyways, contributing to the topic, proliferation of many political parties is a welcome move, and it shows that our democracy is growing and deepening. Politics about sectional interests. So many political parties means a lot of interests which are not, covered by bigger political parties will be covered by small parties. It's not about political program, but it's about sectional interests. So this is a sign of maturing democracy, and the minority will be heard too. Some people might be interested in farming only, so whoever is pushing the farming issue, will be representing them, and they can put those people forward into parliament and talk about issues of farming. Some will be about education, some will be about industry, some will be about other factors which are never covered. Like, for instance, we talk about child abuse, we talk about violence against women. People cover a lot of things which these bigger political parties don't even care about, because their concern is power grab. So I think this is a welcome move, and it should be encouraged and supported. Thank you. Yeah, I'm landing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernard, for your contribution this morning. I see we've been joined by Not Golide. Good morning, Not Golide.
Good morning, Brighton and Mantansa. How are you guys? Thanks, it's been a long time. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. Nice to see everyone else in the space. What an interesting topic. However, I would like to throw a joker. I think the Zimbabwean politics, I think they haven't reached that maturity stage at the present moment. There's a lot of things that are bedelving our political space, in that people are hungry. They don't make decisions based on what the political party offers, but or whatever they are doing is based on their stomach. They are hungry. They need food. That's what they need as of now, and whoever can provide them something, then they'll vote for that person, irrespective of the future, irrespective of their tomorrow. You may see the proliferation of these political parties. Most of them, they don't have any ideology at all. There are those who are coming in who are genuine, but then there are those who are just coming in just to make noise in support of, I would say, ZANU-PF, because that's what I've seen from political parties. As small as they are, they will say, I would rather have ZANU-PF ruling because no one else has got anything to offer. But having said that, it's because they wouldn't have listened to whatever the action is, whatever they are coming in to offer them. Just because they support ZANU-PF, they would just say, oh, we don't want anyone else to come in, or we don't see anyone else who can offer us anything. We would rather have the incumbent just continue. Right, look at our politics in Zimbabwe. If ever there is a rally, you find that everyone goes onto the rally. Why? Mostly it's because they don't have anything more to do. They don't have any work, they don't have any employment. So political rally where everyone is becomes a source of entertainment. Everyone will just go into the rally. But in countries where there is that political maturity, you'll find that if you hold the rally, you'll find that with few people, because most of the people are quoted in their workplaces. They're looking at the economy and the policies you push. They read whatever you present to them, whichever way you do it, either you give them pamphlets, either you send your policies through the media. They will read that, and whenever they go to vote, they will vote with that. Then that's where you will find that you get independent people coming in and winning the elections, because they go by policy and what someone presents. People don't vote by their stomach, but they vote about policies, whatever works for them, because people want a working economy that has got the future for their tomorrow. They want sustainability, which I think we don't have in our country. For instance, look at the macrocausals that are all over the country. Who is looking at the environmental damage that is happening? Who is rehabilitating that land that has been degraded? But people will just vote just because they've been promised that they'll be given some mine claims to go and dig. They will just dig. They don't care what happens, even if it's a human being who goes in there, fails, or if the animals just go in and break their legs and they die in there. No one really cares. No one is looking at that. Who is looking at the siltation, the pollution, the mercury that goes under the dams? No one cares about that. So I can go on and on and on and on. What I can say is that I think our politics hasn't reached that maturity stage as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Not Golide, for that contribution. I see someone agrees with you here. Visibility is saying political maturity is still a long way to go. As long as there's political violence question, we got a journey.
So I spoke about the issue of maturity and not necessarily on say enough as electorate to say accept new voice solely based on politics on two parties as ZANU-PF for MTC or Triple C, but also let's allow other parties to have a voice as well. I see you have now joined by Salani. Salani, good morning, welcome to this morning. Salani, can you
yes, yes, I can hear you. I hope you can hear me because it's breaking a bit. It might be because I'm outside. Can you confirm if you can hear me properly?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a bit of my thoughts on the matter. And I wanted to remind everyone that when we look at political parties, you should see them as door-to-door salespeople. Remember, they're trying to sell you into the idea. They want you to subscribe to what they're selling. That is what they do. And each citizen, what happens is you go for those who meet your need. Because remember, our needs, our desires, they differ from time to time. It's a societal issue. So if your need is that in your community, possibly you're more concerned with what's happening with the schooling system or education, you will go for those who promise to deliver. So that's why I see politicians as door-to-door salespeople. So what happens with that is you can always have many door-to-door salespeople coming. Politicians come and they go. What's important, because let's say today, I am voting for, let me not use which political party. I can't even name anything here because I don't believe that there's yet to be a political party that can fix Zimbabwe's problem. But that's just me. So if I feel that no one is answering to the questions and the concerns that I have, I will decide not to possibly register to vote because I don't have anyone to vote for, right? And those who also are sitting on the fence, what you need is someone to pull you to their side. What are they promising you? What are they saying? What are their pledges? And if you feel that these have not been answered, and it's a situation where there's a political party which currently doesn't even have a manifesto, there's no membership subscription, you might find that the citizen won't be keen to vote for such a party. They will end up not having a choice. So what happens is you've got those, some people call them undecided voters. What makes them undecided is because they don't see a system that works for them or a proposal that has been put forward that would ensure that their needs are met. So when you look at that, it is very crucial that we have as many political parties in the game as possible, because at the end of the day, you cannot have a situation where there are two predominant political parties. It's not everyone who agrees with ZANU-PF. I definitely don't. It's not everyone who agrees with Triple C. You might want a situation where you want a political party that thinks like you do, that has the same concerns that you do, and this will ensure that if they are to be elected or voted into office, you will then question them as to the pledges that they initially made. This is what politics should be about. But what we see happening in Zimbabwe is a situation where you have citizens more concerned with, let us remove ZANU-PF, and let us bring in Triple C. And then the reasons they give you is ZANU-PF has failed. Okay, so what is Triple C bringing to the table? That should be the question. It's not. We know that political parties fail and they do good, but that cannot be a basis for which you then go and say, so we want to vote you in, because you haven't answered the crucial questions of what are they going to bring that's different. If you call yourself an alternative, what is alternative about you? But if you see that there are little little signs that you start to question things. So when it comes to a democratic situation that we want in Zimbabwe, because let's remember, irrespective of the fact that Zimbabwe is under a regime, it doesn't mean that the tenets of democracy should leave us. It doesn't mean that we need to expect higher and more from those who would seek to be the next government in waiting. So I feel it's extremely crucial that we allow political parties to be there. I don't understand. I mean, at one point, we have 100 plus political parties that are registered, but I think some are dormant. They're definitely, we don't see them up and about. That becomes also questionable, and I guess that's where the argument of ZANU-PF project comes in, because at the end of the day, you register, you're doing the work, and you also have to do the work which is contrary to what ZANU-PF does. That is what opposition is there for, especially if you're an opposition political party. You oppose the current government, but not just in word, not just in Bible verses, but in action, in things that we can actually say, so I'll end there for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Boss Salani, for that contribution. Quite interesting views there. I see we've also been joined by, let's hear what Tsepang has to say. Good morning, Tsepang.
Good morning, Lonshan Sanabira and Python. It's a good Monday and a great pleasure to be on your platform. An interesting topic as well. Is this a sign of democracy? Yes, when we have a number of political parties, whether they were existent a long time ago or they've just emerged, that's neither here nor there, because the essence of politics, if you understand it, it's nothing else apart from competing interests. So all those political parties that we see have competing interests. The main bottom question is, are those interests to favor the citizens or the interests are to favor themselves as a party? Well, that's a question for another day. But what I wanted to say is, I think there is cosmetic window dressing, where we say just because we have a number of political parties, then that's democracy. I think democracy goes beyond just having political parties, because we also need to understand that there is something called pseudo political parties. So political parties can be created by maybe the incumbent or an opposition party, whatever the case may be, to advance the interests of a certain party. So there is something called pseudo parties, you understand? No wonder I say it's not enough just to say, just because we have 10 or 20 political parties, some may be pseudo political parties. But I feel like as Zimbabwe, there is more that we can do, honestly. I think the whole electoral system in Zimbabwe is not good. It's proven not to be good. You know, the hostility that is there, the name calling of other political parties, you hear the people saying this is Zanulite, this and that. It's emanating from the electoral system that we are using in Zimbabwe, where we believe that the winner takes all. And one of the speakers, I think it's not so Polite or Bento, I can't remember, who was saying this small
That chinhu chakuita kunge chizanulite, you start to question things. So when it comes to a democratic situation that we want in Zimbabwe, because let's remember, irrespective of the fact that Zimbabwe is under a regime, it doesn't mean that the tenets of democracy should leave us. It doesn't mean that we need to expect higher and more from those who would seek to be the next government in waiting. So I feel it's extremely crucial that we allow political parties to be there. I don't understand. I mean, at one point, we have 100 plus political parties that are registered, but I think some are dormant. They're definitely, we don't see them up and about. That becomes also questionable, and I guess that's where the argument of ZANU-PF project comes in, because at the end of the day, you register, you're doing the work, and you also have to do the work which is contrary to what ZANU-PF does. That is what opposition is there for, especially if you're an opposition political party. You oppose the current government, but not just in word, not just in Bible verses, but in action, in things that we can actually say, so I'll end there for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Boss Salani, for that contribution. Quite interesting views there. I see we've also been joined by, let's hear what Tsepang has to say. Good morning, Tsepang.
good morning, Shansana Biwa and Python. It's a good Monday and a great pleasure to be on your platform. An interesting topic as well. Is this a sign of democracy? Yes, when we have a number of political parties, whether they were existent a long time ago or they've just emerged, that's neither here nor there, because the essence of politics, if you understand it, it's nothing else apart from competing interests. So all those political parties that we see have competing interests. The main bottom question is, are those interests to favor the citizens or the interests are to favor themselves as a party? Well, that's a question for another day. But what I wanted to say is, I think there is cosmetic window dressing, where we say just because we have a number of political parties, then that's democracy. I think democracy goes beyond just having political parties, because we also need to understand that there is something called pseudo political parties. So political parties can be created by maybe the incumbent or an opposition party, whatever the case may be, to advance the interests of a certain party. So there is something called pseudo parties, you understand? No wonder I say it's not enough just to say, just because we have 10 or 20 political parties. Some may be pseudo political parties. But I feel like as Zimbabwe, there is more that we can do, honestly. I think the whole electoral system in Zimbabwe is not good. It's proven not to be good. You know, the hostility that is there, the name calling of other political parties, you hear the people saying this is Zanulite, this and that. It's emanating from the electoral system that we are using in Zimbabwe, where we believe that the winner takes all. And one of the speakers, I think it's not so Polite or Bento, I can't remember, who are saying these small political parties have something to offer, something which might as well have been overlooked by these big political parties. You know, when you have a large following, or when there is charisma attached to this political party or to this political party leader, there is a tendency of overlooking some of the fundamentals. They may seem small, but they are fundamentals. So these other political parties, Molanyana parties, then come in to cover the gap. But the challenge is the winner takes all system. It's not working. That's what creates hostility. That's what creates a situation where in Zimbabwe, 2 years down the line, the population is still on an electoral mode. You know, we seem not to be able to move past that and understand that elections are nothing but an event. When that event passes, there is need now to look at the bigger picture, which is nation building, which is development. But you can't do that because of the system that is there. So you'll find that even if these political parties are there, they've got good manifestos, they're speaking so well. The whole issue of the political culture plays a role, and that role usually negatively impacts on these Smolanyana parties. So if as a country there was a way to go back to the drawing board and say, what is it that we can adopt from other countries, for instance, like in South Africa? They have the multi-party democracy system. At the same time, they went a step further to ensure that those parties, despite it's a small party, despite it's a bigger party, they all have a stake in this big called South Africa. So I think we need that because usually when it comes to these small parties, it ends with their manifestos during election time, and that's it. You will not find them in parliament, but they have sound policies to offer, sound policies that may be better than policies from ZANU-PF, that may be better than policies from CCC. But because of the political power culture that is there, people seem to be beyond, I don't know, it's either ZANU or CCC, nothing else. And that has a negative impact for the population in the long run. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for that. But I was speaking about that earlier on to say that even us as Zimbabwe are not that mature enough. I remember the time when Chapman came into the field and said, I'm running for president in this coming election. You should support us from the ruling party or support us from the opposition party, which is Triple C or MTC. Maybe throwing stones at him, like saying, you're approaching, you're what. So that just got to be mature enough as the electorate to say, new parties, small parties, as I say, small parties, especially and give them that much respect as AMA voters. So you seem to be clinging on ZANU-PF or Triple C or MDC. Why can't you move a step further to look at those small parties or UZA or DUS and so on to say, listen to their policies? Remember, there was APA led by Nkosana Moyo. Imagine if APA was not led by a non-politician, Nkosana Moyo. Was it going to be popular then? I doubt. So let's hear from other listeners this morning. I see of Njabulo. Njabulo, good morning. Welcome to This Morning on Asake. Njabulo, good morning. All right, we seem to be striking there with Njabulo. Let's take another one. And the Blacknitude Redemption, good morning.
Well, yeah, good morning. How are you, host? And
hello, can you guys hear me?
oh, okay, Njabule speaking.
Okay, let's give Njabule a chance. Then Redemption, I'll come to you. Njabule, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, sir. Parties, small parties, as I say, small parties, especially and give them that much respect as AMA voters. So you seem to be clinging on ZANU-PF or Triple C or MDC. Why can't you move a step further to look at those small parties or UZA or DUS and so on to say, listen to their policies? Remember, there was APA led by Nkosana Moyo. Imagine if APA was not led by a non-politician, Nkosana Moyo. Was it going to be popular then? I doubt. So let's hear from other listeners this morning. I see of Njabulo. Njabulo, good morning. Welcome to This Morning on Asake. Njabulo, good morning. All right, we seem to be striking there with Njabulo. Let's take another one. And the Blacknitude Redemption, good morning.
Well, yeah, good morning. How are you, host? And
hello, can you guys hear me?
oh, okay, Njabule speaking.
Okay, let's give Njabulo a chance. Then Redemption, I'll come to you. Njabulo, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, sir.
Oh, okay. So I think my network was acting up a bit. Good morning, Brighton. Good morning, Nonchansha, and the fellow speakers and our listeners. It's quite a very interesting topic that is being raised. But my assertion on the above topic that has been raised, when you see a country having it's a sign of poverty. It shows that a lot of people are not working, so they need to go where the food is. It's a fighting for survival. Since all of us have been, look at countries like the UK. Check how many political parties are being formed on a daily basis. Check countries like the United States. Check how many political parties are being formed on a daily basis. We need to be seeing more companies being opened and more organizations being established, but we are seeing more political parties because everyone wants to control, wants to have power, because the power is been taken away from the citizens. That's why we want to go to the corridors where they can control maybe a certain thing or have access to. Remember, we
Ndablo, we lost you there. I'm not sure whether it's your network or our network, but we lost you as you were speaking. But let's go to Redemption. Max, I see
no
you.
longer
I'll come.
should be your party is communist party that in common. Here we have AC, which is a bit of a communist party, of EFF, which is representing black majority, and they are economic freedom fighters for black people. They are trying to enrich or transfer the wealth from the
Okay, thank you. Is it okay if I go through now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. Greetings to everyone. Greetings to you, host, and everyone on the platform. Right. Yeah. In a summary, I'll just say this is what it is to me when we see the formation of different political formations. It might really speak to democracy, but to me, what it entails, it is like democracy that is just being spoken but not really in practice. You know, it is a democracy that speaks for all, but only to serve few. So for me, that is not something that I call democracy, because it can be said, or it can be seen, or it can be acted. But then if it is not really true, then it is not democracy, right? I want to look at what is really the driving force which is leading to so many formations. To me, I just look at one thing, which I think the issue of unemployment in our country, which have seen being a politician as the only job that has got secure income. It is so evident that even within the existing political parties, you know, there is so much conflict within them. So I have seen so many people who do not stand a chance there within the existing political parties, resorting to now have their own formations as a way of securing income. So to me, that's what it is. It is not really that we have a democracy, a democratic space within Zimbabwe. But then the last question I would want to ask is, our environment, our political environment in Zimbabwe for many years now seem to be so polarized. But the question is, can an undemocratic environment breed something which is democratic? That is just my question. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Redemption, for that contribution. There's a question there, Brighton. What do you think?
It's a very interesting question. I'll pose it. I'll throw it again to the listener this one to
Yeah.
answer that question. The post by Redemption. If you want to respond to that, please do request the mic and respond to that. I see you're joined by another speaker this morning. Max, good morning. Welcome to This Morning on Asaki. Also take on the issue of the rise of many political parties in Zimbabwe. Is this a sign of democracy? Max?
Yes. Morning, Brighton and Nonchance. Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you are clear, sir. Please do go ahead with the contribution this morning.
Okay. Thank you so much. This topic, I will also answer it maybe similar to fellow speakers that have spoken before, to say it's two things, right? At a minimalistic point of view, I think yes, the answer has to be yes. It is a sign of democracy. But like many people have said, especially Zebang has said, that it is an entry point. This is just the beginning of it, right? Because this idea of having a ideological marketplace in which many policy ideas are thrown in front of the electorate, it's a good thing. And obviously it's the basis of choices, right? Democracy rests on the ability to choose from a number of ideas. So from that perspective, we can say, yeah, it's a sign of democracy, but that's not all, right? That's not all, because a democracy also takes a certain quality of the electorate, takes a certain quality of the environment. For example, democracy rests on the attentive citizenry, and it also requires a non-partisan media, and also requires this idea that rallies against what is called dominant party syndrome, or some people call it patriarchy, right? But if you look at these 3 points, attentive citizenry, non-partisan media, and then this idea against patriarchy, you can see that as Zimbabwe, I think we're a long way to go, because the fact that so many political parties, even those that have got good policies, still remain at the periphery of political contestation may be partly due to the maturity of the electorate, in which we are still looking for that political savior. We are against a lot of people, good ideas coming up. The reason why, this is my contention, the reason why Chapman, for example, with those received a lot of vitriol compared to Elizabeth Valerio, for example, and other people, maybe that people see him as a real option because of the policies that he puts out there. So it frustrates people who want to bet on one horse to take over the political landscape, because we're still based on this dominant party syndrome, in which one political party, one political person has to be our savior. So from an electoral point of view, from the demand side of that market, yes, democracy is still at its infancy. We still need to mature as the electorate. We still need to be weighing our options in terms of the ideas, in terms of the policies that are being put across, rather than in terms of loyalty to political establishment, even if we know that sometimes they go off and we are afraid to criticize. Because to be attentive as citizenry, which is fundamental to the maturity of democracy, it means that we have to balance between loyalty and accountability. We have to hold political parties to account. We have to hold those people that are selling these ideas, as Salan is saying, to account. If we just endorse political ideas that are coming from people that we like because we cannot handle criticism, or they cannot handle criticism, and we look at criticism as if we're letting them down, then we're not matured as an electorate, and we are allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of by these people that are selling these political ideas. So yes, the proliferation of ideas is a sign of democracy, but it's only a point. We need to bring independent media. We have seen partisan media, people that clearly, they are for this party or the other party, and cannot play the watchdog role of the media in a mature democracy. They still endorse policies and ideas uncritically, from both sides of the aisle. So yeah, it's still a problem. I think it's an entry point, but we need to take a next step, especially as the electorate, to make sure that this democracy matures. This marketplace of ideology and policies actually works for us. Otherwise, it will still remain that a marketplace of ideas that most of which won't be taken or won't be explored. So I'll end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Max, for that contribution this morning. If you have just joined us on this morning on Asake, we are talking about the rise of many political parties in Zimbabwe. Is this a sign of democracy? I see we have more speakers that have joined us. So I'll start by Tendai. Good morning, Tendai.
Good morning, my sister Natasha. Good morning, Brighton, and the rest of the speakers and the listeners as well. I'm here today with just layman's terms, and what I can say from the rise of many political parties in Zimbabwe, is this a sign of democracy? On my own point of view, I think it's not like Zimbabwe is democratic like what we always say. A lot happened. I think a lot of speakers have explained a lot of things, and the recent speaker, Brother Max, I have explained a lot of things. And what I can just add from what he have said, I can say there is no democracy in Zimbabwe. If we say there is democracy, it's just at the entry stage, like what my brother have just emphasized now. So, but with the economy that we have as we speak now in Zimbabwe, with the situation in Zimbabwe, I think it's not advisable for us to have a lot of political parties because, of course, we know ZANU-PF have been ruling for very long, for 43 years, and what we need now is change. So I don't see if it makes real sense that we have to have a lot of political parties, then at the same time splitting the votes, while at least we want to fight to remove the ruling party. In another sense, we are saying we are fighting for democracy because all of the people have been crying and say there's no democracy in Zimbabwe. That's why we saying everything is captured, the police, the judiciary, the media, like what my brother Max was saying now, everything is captured. So what we are fighting for is democracy, because if we say these institutions have been captured, which means there's no democracy. So we have to fight together. We don't have to split and have lots of political parties. Let's do so once we have removed the ruling party that is on the throne as we speak now. I think that will be much better. Then we revisit this topic as well and say, can we say now that the political parties in Zimbabwe are a sign of democracy? Then definitely it will be yes. But if we still have ZANU-PF as our ruling party, I can tell you we don't need much of political parties. We need fewer political parties that work together to remove ZANU-PF. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Tendai, for that contribution. But to maybe put a point across what you said, the issue of splitting votes. I've always asked myself, when a new party is formed and you have voices, people saying, what this party is going to split vote, does any party in Zimbabwe maybe own any vote? Or every party deserves a vote? Whether we're fighting to remove ZANU-PF, whether we're fighting to remove CCC, whether we're fighting to remove MDC, every party, according to me, Brighton, deserves a vote. There's no party that there's no vote is going to split any vote. I'm thinking that way. Because for me, I can choose APA. It's my right to vote and choose APA if I like it, right? How am I splitting the vote? I'm trying to bring an argument. Then I see you're nodding your head. I'm trying to bring an argument there.
I think it's that mentality that I see Tando had posted a comment there. She says, we are still trying to move from the one-party state that was created by ZANU in the 90s. Half the population wants to maintain ZANU as the ruling party. The other half just wants to get rid of it. So people will still vote along those lines regardless of new parties coming up. So this is where this idea of splitting votes come in. To say you are now separating from the votes that want to remove ZANU-PF.
But no, I'm saying, I was giving a reference to South Africa to say, in South Africa, they have the ANC, right? There's the ruling, but it's governing party. Then you have the DA, is the official opposition party. And then you have the EFF as the number three party in South Africa. And then you have the other parties, the Good Party, other parties, right? In South Party, so on and so on. No one has ever spoken about splitting the vote in South Africa, right? But when it comes to Zimbabwe, because we have this mindset to say our party politics is about two parties, ZANU-PF and MTC or CCC. Then someone, remember the time when there was Simba Makoni, it's coming to split the vote. Whose vote is he splitting? As Brighton, as a citizen, as a voter, I'm entitled to my vote to vote for anyone. So if I'm saying I'm going to split the vote, how? Because my vote is my right.
Yeah, I wonder what TJ has to say this morning. Good morning, TJ. What's your thoughts on this? What have been discussed so far?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, well, I mean, I find it funny that we think that if I buy so many pens, I'm going to be a genius. What I'm trying to say is we can have 1 million political parties in Zimbabwe, but that is not democracy. Democracy is not seen by how many political parties you have, but it's seen by what people do. How are we accountable for our actions? How are we free to express ourselves? So it's not by just having so many political parties and say, yeah, we're actually heading into democracy. And then I'm just going to come up on your voter splitting question there. There are two things that happen there, because some people might feel like this party might be having, say, for example, in 100 population, one party has 50-50. And then if a new party comes in, some people might think like the other party, which had 50, is going to lose the other 10. And then the one that still has 50 is going to remain in power, or things like that. The only thing where there is a problem within our politics is you will see somebody who knows he has only 10,000 votes is running for president. We haven't got to that stage where somebody can actually have a clear picture to say, you know what, I've had a good run in trying to form a political party and this. Now, because we have a goal congruence, I want what's best for the country. I think Danny is a better candidate, you know. So I should actually consider and say, listen, guys, my people, this is what's happening. We have tried, but I see with the numbers that we have, based on our statistics we've done as a team, we don't have enough votes at the moment to run for presidency. So I'll urge you all to vote for Danny. But we haven't got to that stage because everybody wants to be in the parliament. Everybody wants to earn the money that they are being given, whatever the 40K is, the whatnot. It's more or less of what do you call this? A profession than those guys being just politicians. They're just using now that as a work. So I think what's creating those so many parties is because they're saying it on the news. Oh, all MPs or all these are being given this. So everybody's now having a hope like, okay, if I go and do that, next year I'll get 40K US dollars, you know. So that's where, to me, I see That's the major problem, and they shouldn't be getting paid all those ridiculous amounts of money in the first place. They are there to serve the nation. It's a public office. You shouldn't be earning more than what any other person is earning. You're supposed to be accountable for all your expenses, but it's not happening. So when I look at it from that perspective, I think we're still a long way from democracy. And back in the day, if people will remember the votes, the ruling political party used to have that same ploy where some of its members will declare as independent. And the moment they win the seats, they go back and join the ruling party. So those are the scars that so many people have when they talk about vote splitting, because they've gained what they want on the basis that they're independent. But the moment they win, they then declare alliance to the other side, hating the people that vote for them. So we need to be smart when we look at this. And when all these political parties are forming up, we actually need to sit down and think like, okay, does guy really have the credentials? Is he saying things that he's saying? And then Dopai's one's paper is roto. Yes, we all dream and do all that. But sometimes we just need us as the majority or the poor voice, they call us, to just evaluate and say, oh, you be a better candidate. So I should actually consider and say, listen, guys, my people, this is what's happening. We have tried, but I see with the numbers that we have, based on our statistics we've done as a team, we don't have enough votes at the moment to run for presidency. So I'll urge you all to vote for Danny. But we haven't got to that stage because everybody wants to be in the parliament. Everybody wants to earn the money that they are being given, whatever the 40K is, the whatnot. It's more or less of what do you call this? A profession than those guys being just politicians. They're just using now that as a work. So I think what's creating those so many parties is because they're saying it on the news. Oh, all MPs or all these are being given this. So everybody's now having a hope like, okay, if I go and do that, next year I'll get 40K US dollars. So that's where, to me, I see that's the major problem, and they shouldn't be getting paid all those ridiculous amounts of money in the first place. They are there to serve the nation. It's a public office. You shouldn't be earning more than what any other person is earning. You're supposed to be accountable for all your expenses, but it's not happening. So when I look at it from that perspective, I think we're still a long way from democracy. And back in the day, if people will remember the votes, the ruling political party used to have that same ploy where some of its members will declare as independent. And the moment they win the seats, they go back and join the ruling party. So those are the scars that so many people have when they talk about vote splitting, because they've gained what they want on the basis that they're independent. But the moment they win, they then declare alliance to the other side, hating the people that vote for them. So we need to be smart when we look at this. And when all these political parties are forming up, we actually need to sit down and think like, okay, does guy really have the credentials? Is he saying things that he's saying? And then Dopai's one's paper is roto. Yes, we all dream and do all that. But sometimes we just need us as the majority or the poor voice, they call us, to just evaluate and say, oh, you guy is after smoking a tree today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, TJ, for that contribution. You heard what TJ was saying, Brighton, with regards to your question there. Yeah.
Guys, let's try to wrap up the show this morning. I see we have one more last speaker before we wrap up the show. I've seen a shining midnight one. Good morning. Welcome to This Morning on a Second.
Yes, good morning, Zenzele, and thank you for giving me the floor. I just wanted to also put my views across on this subject. The rise of multiple political parties, for me, is not the first sign of an increase in democracy. I think that for me, when we talk about democracy, we can talk about an independent judiciary. In Zimbabwe, can we say our judiciary is independent? I don't know the number of days, maybe 314, maybe 315. There's a gentleman called Job Sikal, he's the buzz, for a crime that even the state cannot even bring him the charges. They cannot even bring him to trial. He's waiting for a judge to come back from maternity. And then we can speak about having one more political party as a sign that is democracy. I do not think so. We can talk about the press. Is our press free? Can we ever rely on the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation? Can we rely on the Daily News? Can we rely on the Herald to tell us what it is that is happening in Zimbabwe's political landscape. That is the answer to that is it's not true. So having one more political party does not mean that we have an increase in democracy. ZANU-PF continues to undermine the political processes that are around the elections. You know the debacle that we had was the delimitation report gazetted earlier or later? The jury is still out on that story because ZANU-PF can and does manipulate the electoral processes. So the existence of one more party does not mean that we have more democracy. But it is true that in a democracy, we can have multiple political parties that represent the multiple perspectives and concerns that people have. And it is important that that happens, but it is not the first thing. Someone talked about the vitriol against Chapman, and I think I want to just touch on that and say, the simple and shallow answer that people have given is that people see people are dandiads, they're idiots, they are stupid, they are vagrants. But I think it goes deeper than that. Maybe let me try to make it deeper before I end, just in a minute. I think that the people of Zimbabwe are tired of what is going on. They actually want change. And if someone comes with a narrative that seems to reinforce the oppressor, the people who shout not because they are stupid, but because they are resisting. They are trying to emancipate themselves. And they see those who come with some of these narratives as actually trying to keep them in the bondage where they are, and they kind of resist. If you think about it in that way, you will see why it is that Hopewell, we love Hopewell from CCC. We love him very much. But one day he said CCC is as dead as a dodo. The number of likes on his tweets, they reduced. They actually just reduced from up there to zero. And people started shouting at him. I think part of it is because we are vagrants, we are violent. But the other reason is also that people do not want anybody that is reinforcing the oppressed. They want to be free. So when you come there and you are not singing the song of freedom, they are not going to sing with you. I want to stop there. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your contribution this morning. We're trying to wrap up the space this morning. I see you have 3 hands. I'm going to give 1 minute each to each speaker. I'll start with you, Tsapang, and then I goes to Bosalan, and then Daniel's go close the show for us this morning. Tsapang, I'm giving 1 minute. Please stick to 1 minute, and then we'll wrap up the show this morning.
All right. Thank you, Brighton. First things first that I want to say is there's a saying when you want to start a business, which says, don't fall in love with your idea. Don't fall in love with your idea of voting for whosoever, because when you do so, you will not be open-minded to look into what other smaller parties have to offer. Secondly, the whole aspect of splitting the votes is not scientifically proven. In a scenario where we don't have another party coming in, we have 2 parties, you don't know what those people are going to do. Will they vote for the other party or will they vote for the alternative? You don't know a dice. So when a third party comes, you then cannot say that's splitting the votes. Politics involves a scientifically proven method of ascertaining results. Thank you so much, Brighton.
Thank you so much, Tsapang, for that. Let's go to Bosalani. 1 minute to you, Bosalani.
Oh, thank you so much. I just wanted to say, one thing we have to understand is that the white people start to question whether a political party is ZANU-PF light or what you call it. What's the word they use? Project.
A project. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. It's because of the work they do, not just the lack of work they do, okay? And the other thing is the support that they get from ZANU. ZANU has got this tendency of supporting those that stand with them. right? They don't criticize them, they don't attack them, they don't arrest them. They have rallies that go ahead. Those are some of the little ingredients that make you question whether a political party is not affiliated with ZANU-PF, because we know that those that go against ZANU-PF, you get arrested, you don't get to have rallies. So let's remember that there are a lot of things involved. It's not just that we don't like a certain political party, not at all, but we have to ask ourselves those questions. Why isn't ZANU-PF treating this political party the same way it treats its opponents, especially when we look at Triple C? And the other point I just wanted to really emphasize on, there is this whole we have to understand something, that when people decide to become politicians, we need to ensure that there's transparency and accountability. That's why we are worried now because I heard a couple of speakers saying that there's no jobs, therefore people are becoming politicians so that they can eat. We need to move away from that kind of politics, because at the end of the day, we need to vote for those that represent us. We need to also know where they have their money, how they make their money. We need to stop voting for those that that they don't have another source in which they get, have their own money, and they, you know what I mean? That is, it's up to us as citizens to ensure that those who lead us have their own ways of getting money and are not just getting into politics so that they can eat. I'll end there for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Boss Salani, for your contribution this morning. So we'll go to our last speaker. Danny, please wrap up the show for us this morning.
Thank you very much. I'll be very quick. Not every party is there to remove ZANU-PF. Another party can come in because they want to represent the poor or Christians or something. So don't impose and say, oh yeah, they came and now they are this. So let them come in, let them step into the stage, let them represent their constituency, the one they want to represent. And we can only do that with more parties. And in Zimbabwe, at least we have that. I mean, notwithstanding other issues of the judiciary, the captured institutions, that's not what we are discussing here. So we need more parties. We need more proliferation of ideas and leaders so we can be able to address every single body's concerns and issues in our beloved Zimbabwe. There's a section in Mutare who say, you're always talking about Gokura Wundu in Bulawayo. If it was here in Mutare as well, we need representation, and they might form a party, and they must be respected as such. They're not concerned about Salani in Mutora Shanga or Deani in Gokwe. They're concerned about Wasu in Mutare, and they want their concerns to be represented. So we need more of these parties, so more of these issues can be resolved and addressed and so forth. So not everyone is coming for ZANU-PF. We must understand that. But then I do understand that we need ZANU-PF to go, and we really need that to happen. And then there are those that are addressing that. It doesn't always have to be a one thing happening at one time. It can be three-dimensional. It can be multifaceted. It can be, us attacking different things at the same time. And it's possible and can be done. And this is very good that we have many different parties to address these issues. But let me end there. I don't have that much time. But yeah, it is a sign of democracy, though they're notwithstanding the other issues I've mentioned. And we should promote and we should respect these other parties, as long as they're coming up with ideas that are worthwhile, that are worth affiliating to. Many thanks.
Well, that brings us a wrap to this morning on Asake Today, the Monday edition on this morning on Asake. For me, my key takeaway from this conversation was we need more voices in the political sector. We need more voices, the new voices as well. The new parties, we need them to hear from them what their policies are. As the bank allegedly allowed to say, some of these small parties which are despised, which are viewed as projects, they come with sound policies that can develop Zimbabwe. However, with our politics and not yet mature enough to say, let's also embrace them. Let's embrace new voices. But we keep on labeling them and insulting them. That's the poverty of our politics.
And for my turn is that we need to be more open-minded, and also our constitution, our political environment as well needs to be much more friendlier and accommodate multiple voices.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We're back again tomorrow from 8:30 to 9:30 weekdays. So join us tomorrow morning. My name is Brighton, not Zenzel. Someone called me Zenzel later on. My name is Brighton.
Yeah, and I'm Nonhlanhla Mapiwa. So from us, it's bye for now.